Hey guys, it's Miss Doran, also known as Mrs. Baez now, and I'm here this week to help you have some creative ideas on how to make your city. Now, you're going to be using this city for multiple things this week, including this is your art project, okay? Now, this fits in perfectly with what we've been doing with art as we've been learning about the color wheel. And with this city, you are going to be creating your city in a circle with different colored buildings that match the 6 colors in our color wheel. Now, you're going to make each section of your city, each colored section, represent a different part. So for example, maybe purple, the purple buildings are your apartments, your residential area. That's where people live. But maybe your red buildings, maybe that's your businesses, maybe that's where your schools are, or your church, or really it's up to you however you want to divide it, which is really awesome, okay? So I'm going to show you a few different ways you can make buildings as well as color them to make them into your different colors. Now, last week you were supposed to start collecting materials. I have a couple materials here that I'm going to show you as some examples for your city. Number 1, boxes. Boxes are great. Boxes of all sizes. Now you don't want to use a really big box because then you will have just one giant box in the middle of your city. Instead, try to find boxes that are no bigger than the size of your hand, or if they're larger than that, then they're just really tall. But tall and skinny or short boxes are what you want to go for, okay? Also, maybe you collected some cardboard rolls. You can stack these on top of each other or even just use a single one as a small building. For example, maybe you just have a couple of these in an area that are colored one way, and these represent your houses where the people would live. Okay? So, another thing you might want to use is some colored paper. The easiest way to make colored buildings is to wrap them in colored paper or to make a building out of colored paper. Now, I know not all of you may have colored paper, so instead you might need to use some colored pencils, some markers, some crayons, or even some paint to color your buildings, okay? Here's some ideas you could do. You could either, number 1, just color your building directly. So if you have a box, you could just paint it. Pretty easy, right? Or if you have permanent markers, you can color it with that. Another idea is if you don't have those and you just plan on using white paper and you're gonna color that, I would recommend you color it first and then attach it to your building, because sometimes it's pretty hard to color on an uneven surface, especially if you plan on coloring on something that's round. That can be pretty difficult. So you might want to color your paper first and then put it onto your object, okay? Now, if you don't have recycled materials and you're thinking, what am I gonna do? Let me show you how to make a few simple buildings just using paper that you don't need recycled materials for. For this, you will need paper. I'm going to show you a couple different ways. I'm going to use colored paper. If you have thicker paper, it's better, but thin paper works just as well. Also, you're going to need scissors and preferably tape. If you don't have tape, then also a glue stick would work just fine as well, okay? So the first one, let me show you here. I'm going to be taking a green piece of paper. The first thing I'm going to do is fold this almost in half. I'm going to leave a little edge right there, and I'll show you why in just a couple minutes. Okay? So I folded it just like this with just a little edge sticking out. Now I'm going to fold this in half again until it lines up with this, not the edge of the paper. Okay, finally I'm going to fold that little edge over just like this. Okay, now what's going to happen is I open it up and I have 5 sections, 4 big ones and 1 small one. This is what I'm going to use to create the sides of my building. Now, one of these I'm going to have to fold the opposite way, just like this. And now I'm able to fold this with the little extra piece into my building. I need that little extra piece because that's where I'm going to put my tape to hold my walls together. So let me take my piece of tape here, put it on that extra little piece right here. And tape it together. Now you may be thinking, wait a minute, I really want to put a roof on my building. I can take this now and I can add a roof to it. A really easy way, watch. I'm going to take the top, I'm going to cut down just a little bit on every edge. Okay, now I'm going to take these edges and I'm going to fold them towards the inside, making a crease here, a crease here, one here, and one here. And now I just made the top of my building. I can take just one piece of tape and I can put this right on where these edges meet to keep it together. So now you have a building with a roof that's 3D. Pretty cool, huh? Now, let me show you another way. If you're thinking, I don't know about that, that's pretty tall. You can do something similar, but it'll be a little smaller. So first I'm going to take my paper, I'm going to fold it in half. I'm going to cut it just like this, and I'm going to just roll it here. Okay. I'm going to take a piece of tape. Oh, my tape just fell. And I'm going to tape it. Now I have a cylinder, and I can use this as a building. Look how easy that was. If I want to add a roof, I can cut a piece of paper. I'm going to make this a triangular roof. I'm going to fold this across, and I'm going to tape this on either side of my cylinder, and this I'm going to use as my roof. Okay? So there's building number 2. As you can see, there's many ways to do this. Building number 3. For this one, I'm going to show you what happens when you don't have that little extra piece. So I'm going to fold this in half. I'm going to fold it in half again. Just like this. Now I have 4 pieces. I'm going to fold that over so that they all meet at the edge. Now, what you'll see here is it's not going to be as clean of an edge because there's not really a supporting piece. It just all meets up right there at that corner. So it's going to be a little harder to tape, but it's still possible. So if you didn't understand keeping that little extra piece, you could just do this, but just know your building won't be as strong. Okay? And now, my piece of tape. And there is my building. Maybe you're saying, this is a really tall, skinny building. Okay, fine. I'm gonna cut it in half. And voila! I have 2 buildings. Okay? So, as you can see, there's so many different things you can do with this. Another idea is if you have any extra fabric or cloth, like this is an old towel that has some paint stains on it, I could use this to cover a piece of my cardboard. Okay? I could either glue or tape this around, and then I have a blue building. Okay? So, you can be really creative with what you use. Just make sure you're not using anything your mom does not want you to, or else you might get in trouble. Okay? Make sure you are using art supplies or old things that you have permission to use from your parents. Okay? So, I can't wait to see what your cities look like and how creative you get.